Did you ever wonder why Disney decided to recreate some of the Grimm brothers fairy tales and not others? It's interesting. And they certainly changed them right from the get go in the 20th century. They changed them so much. We've read Snow White, Cinderella, um, we've read a couple more, and it's very different. They took out the valuable lessons, changed it, and made us women think that happily ever after is what we somehow deserve. Welcome to Far From Eden. It's good to have you here. On Sundays, we've started reading fairy tales. It sounds like, oh, that's for kids. Actually, I probably, yeah, if you're raising them right, but today's kids, they're not raised with truth usually. They're not raised with limitations, particularly the young girls. So sometimes in some of these fairy tales, and it's from the 1930s, we're holding it together. Grimm's Fairy Tales by the Brothers Grimm. Uh, I don't know all of them. Some of them are by different names, but they're familiar ones that we know. So I kind of use Google to be like, find the most based ones or the most brutal ones, etc. So today we're going to read King Grizzlybeard, because I've never read it. I don't really know exactly what it's about, but I looked a little bit at the synopsis and I think it might be what we're looking for. So let's dive right in. Oh yeah, don't forget to hit like if you're enjoying the videos. King Grizzlybeard. A great king had a daughter who was very beautiful, but so proud and haughty and conceited that none of the princes who came to ask her in marriage were good enough for her, and she only made sport of them. Sounds familiar? Sounds like this day and age. Once upon a time, the king held a great feast and invited all her suitors, and they sat in a row according to their rank, kings and princes and dukes and earls. Then the princess came in and passed by them all, but she had something spiteful to say to each one. The first was too fat. He's as round as a tub, said she. The next was too tall. What a maypole, said she. The next was too short. What a dumpling, said she. The fourth was too pale, and she called him Wallface. Sorry, not familiar with that insult. Wallface. Okay. The fifth was too red, so she called him Coxcomb. Not familiar. Again. The sixth was not straight enough, so she said he was like a green stick that had been laid to dry over a baker's oven. And thus she had some joke to crack upon each one, but she laughed more than all at a good king who was there. Look at him, said she. His beard is like an old mop. He shall be called Grizzlybeard. Now she is nasty. Nasty lady. But the old king was very angry when he saw how his daughter behaved and how she ill-treated all his guests. And he avowed that, willing or unwilling, she would marry the first beggar that came to the door. Oh, yeah. You don't deserve a high value man, ma'am. You don't. You're bringing shame upon your family's name. Not allowed to do that back then. That was frowned upon. 2 days after, there came by a traveling musician who began to sing under the window and beg alms. And when the king heard him, he said, "Let him come in." So they brought in a dirty-looking fellow. And when he had sung before the king and the princess, he begged a boon. Then the king said, "You have sung so well that I will give you my daughter for your wife." The princess begged and prayed, but the king said, "I have sworn to give you to the first beggar, and I will keep my word." So words and tears were of no avail. The parson was sent for, and she was married to the musician. When this was over, the king said, "Now Get ready to go. You must not stay here. You must travel on with your husband." Then the beggar departed and took her with him, and they soon came to a great wood. "Pray," said she, "whose is this wood?" "It belongs to King Grizzlybeard," answered he. "Hadst thou taken him, all had been thine." "Ah, unlucky wretch that I am," sighed she. "Would that I had married King Grizzlybeard." "Unlucky? You did it, lady. You were nasty. You insulted everybody. You're too good, remember?" Next they came to some fine meadows. "Whose are these beautiful green meadows?" said she. "They belong to King Grizzlybeard. Beard, hadst thou married, taken him, they had all been thine." "Ah, unlucky wretch that I am," said she. "Would that I had married King Grizzlybeard." Again, she's unlucky. This just happened to her. This sounds familiar. They then came to a great city. "Whose is this noble city?" said she. "It belongs to King Grizzlybeard. Hadst thou taken him, it had all been thine." "Ah, miserable wretch that I am," sighed she. "Why did I not marry King Grizzlybeard?" "That is no business of mine," said the musician. "Why should you wish for another husband? Am I not good enough for you?" At last they came to a small cottage. "What a paltry place," said she. "To whom does that little dirty hole belong?" It's hard for me to even say the words. The musician answered, "That is your house and mine, where we are to live." "Where are your servants?" cried she. "What do we want with servants?" said he. "You must do for yourself whatever is to be done. Now make the fire and put on water and cook my supper, for I am very tired." Satisfying. But the princess knew nothing of making fires and cooking, and the beggar was forced to help her. When they had eaten a very scanty meal, they went to bed, but the musician called her up very early in the morning to clean the house. Thus they lived for 2 days, and when they had eaten up all there was in the cottage, the man said, "Wife, we can't go on thus, spending money and earning nothing. You must learn to weave baskets." Then he went out and cut willows and brought them home, and she began to weave, but it made her fingers very sore. "I see this work won't do," said he. "Try and spin. Perhaps you will do that better." So she sat down and tried to spin, but the threads cut her tender fingers till the blood ran. She's kind of useless. "See now," said the musician, "you are good for nothing. You can do no work. What a bargain I have got." Not in a good way. "However, I'll try and set up a trade in pots and pans, and you shall stand in the market and sell them." He's trying to have like some kind of value. You've got to bring some kind of value. But notice, even with the work, the weaving, the spinning, it's still under his authority. This is not the way the Proverbs, the fake Proverbs 31 women are like, "Oh, she went out, she bought real estate, da, 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 she had her own career." No, 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 not like that. "Alas," sighed she, "when I stand in the market and any of my father's court pass by and see me there, how they will laugh at me." But the beggar did not care for that, and said she must work, if she did not wish to die of hunger. At first the trade went well, for many people, seeing such a beautiful woman, went to buy her wares, and paid their money without thinking of taking away the goods. They just paid her because she's pretty. Pretty privilege. It's always existed. Always. They lived on this as long as it lasted, and then her husband bought a fresh lot of ware, and she sat herself down with it in a corner of the market. But a drunken soldier soon came by, and rode his horse against her stall, and broke all her goods into 1,000 pieces. Then she began to weep, and knew not what to do. "Ah, what will become of me?" said she. "What will my husband say?" So she ran home and told him all. "Who would have thought you would have been so silly," said he, "as to put an earthenware stall in the corner of the market where everybody passes? But let us have no more crying. I see you are not fit for this sort of work, so I have been to the king's palace and asked if they did not want a kitchen maid. and they have promised to take you, and there you will have plenty to eat. Is he like sending her back? I'm returning this one. This wife is faulty. Yeah, I mean, you used to have to bring value of some description. And if you didn't or refused or couldn't, you might have to go back to daddy. Thus, the princess became a kitchen maid and helped the cook to do all the dirtiest work. She was allowed to carry home some of the meat that was left, and on this, she and her husband lived. She had not been there long before she heard that the king's eldest son was passing by, going to be married. And she went to one of the windows and looked out. Everything was ready, and all the pomp and splendor of the court was there. Then she thought with an aching heart on her own sad fate, and bitterly grieved for the pride and folly which had brought her so low. Self-reflection. And the servants gave her some of the rich meats which she had put into her basket to take home. All on a sudden, as she was going out, in came the king's son in golden clothes. And when he saw a beautiful woman at the door, he took her by the hand and said she should be his partner in the dance. But she trembled for fear, for she saw that it was King Grizzlybeard who was making sport of her. Good. However, he kept fast hold and let her in, and the cover of the basket came off, so that the meats in it fell all about. Then everybody laughed and jeered at her, and she was so abashed that she wished herself 1,000 feet deep in the earth. She sprang to the door to run away, but on the steps King Grizzlybeard overtook and brought her back and said, "Fear me not. I am the musician who has lived with you in the hut. I brought you there because I loved you. I am also the soldier who overset your stall. I have done all this only to cure you of pride and to punish you for the ill treatment you bestowed on me. Now all is over. You have learnt wisdom. Your faults are gone, and it is time to celebrate our marriage feast." Then the chamberlains came and brought her the most beautiful robes, and her father and his whole court were there already, and congratulated her on her marriage. Joy was in every face. The feast was grand, and all were merry, and I wish you and I had been of the party. He taught her how to have some character by creating hardship, right? Wow, that was good. That was so good. And I know a lot of women would read that and say, but what? But he said he loved her. How could he love her if she had all these faults? Men are very simple, and she was beautiful. There must have been a certain way about her. He could see that, she was spoiled. And he sort of, whatever fathering she didn't get, to tell her, no, you can't have everything you want. No, it's not all about you. Don't be nasty to people. He finished sort of fathering her. And the whole point is that pride is very bad, and you have to self-reflect. You have to, take stock of yourself. And she actually ended up doing that. But the bad part of the story is, like in this day and age, when men think, oh, I can fix her, you can't, because you'll get arrested. You're not going to be able to introduce the hardships in life that will build character. But that's what builds character, is hardship. And she clearly hadn't had that. It's so funny. Oh, these stories are just so valuable. So that was King Grizzlybeard. And it just kind of soaks in afterwards. But I had to do another fairy tale, because that first one we did today was a little bit unsatisfying. Grimm brothers. We did Rumpelstiltskin earlier, so we got 2 for today. Also because YouTube, of course, doesn't think that when we watch the Bear Grylls Island with the women arriving, YouTube doesn't think that we were, that I was commentating on a social experiment and we were amateur sociologists watching it. They're like, no, copyright. Okay, whatever. Doesn't hurt the channel. It's just, they're not going to run ads or whatever. So fine, fine. So we'll make more videos today. So let me know if there's any other Grimm Brothers fairy tales that you want to read. I know some of you have requested Hans Christian Andersen. I need to secure an older publication of a compilation of Andersen's works because I know that there's gold in those ones too. The truth is in these old stories, really is. The truth about us, the truth about the world, the truth about right and wrong. And we don't heed those things so much anymore. So it feels restorative to me to delve into these old tales that they collected, coming through Europe. They clearly thought they were important, clearly thought they needed to be passed on, that there were lessons that were timeless and needed to be learned. And it's better, at least for women and children, to learn it in the narrative form. So I'm so thankful. And I'm so glad you guys like to come along with me on these Grimm Brothers fairy tales, because it's a little off subject. It's not really what other, I don't know if there's other men's rights people reading fairy tales. Maybe not, but that's what we do sometimes. So thank you guys for joining me on this one. It was another fun one for me. And I want you to take care of yourselves, do something that feeds your soul, enjoy your Sunday, and I will see you guys on the next one. Love you guys.